Okay, welcome to session 3 of ICTWEB411. Now, this is continuing our HTML review, and in this one we will be going over CSS. So this is our cascading style sheets, and we'll be looking at how we can use styles within our HTML code, how we can use it with an external file, and some of the benefits therein. So just a quick recap. There will be a link up in the top right for the previous session, which we talked about using images as links, creating tables, using the nav tag. We introduced styles and gave a very brief introduction into the 3 style locations that we can use. Formatting tags, using the divide or division tag and the page sections, which came about with HTML5. These can help us format the web page and associate sections of our HTML code with the layout options. So CSS, cascading style sheet, is a format used to describe all the various look and feel of the HTML elements. So we can set background colors, we can set the borders, we can set text styles, colors, bold, all of the things that you can do in a Word document as far as the look and feel of a text document. Using the style properties on the elements within the page, we can replicate that in HTML. Now, style sheets commands can be used in an actual CSS document, or we can use the style elements to assign properties inside the HTML page itself, and these properties are used in a named pair situation where you have the style property name and the value that you want that to have, and you separate these with a semicolon. So the actual pairing of the key pair for the style, you can see here in the body, we're using this parameter style align. Then we have a colon, and then the alignment that we want to apply. So in this case it's center, so anything in the body area. So we're defining the default text alignment for all the text inside the body to be center aligned. Then we have the header, it's type 2 header, and we're setting the color to be red for this header type. So any text defined in the H2 tags will be color red. The paragraph, we're assigning text color the blue, font size to 25 points, style is going to be italic, and then we've got the text or the bot of the tag. So you can see we can assign these values in line with the actual tags themselves. That's one way of assigning these values. So that was in inline, so we use the same style attributes to define our elements. We can do internal, where we put all our definitions up the top of the web page to be used later, rather than repeating it in individual tags. We can have it all predefined at the top of the page. The other way is to have a separate cascading style sheet file, which has the .css file extension, and that is imported in when you start the web page. So we already saw our presentation of inline, where we actually put it inside the tag, and we have the properties, we have the property name and the value that we want to implement, and we can combine multiple style elements together, separated by semicolons. And just as a refresher, this is what it looks like. Now, do you have to have it in line and spaced out like we have here? No. You can just have it on a single line and it reads one after the other. It comes down to how you want your readability of your code to be presented. So, as I went through, the internal is up at the start in the header section, and we basically embed the style in the header. So we start the head section, then define the style tag, and then we have all of our elements that we want to apply to the page. Finish the style tag, and then complete whatever you're defining within the header. So that's the internal and embedded. You have to rinse and repeat all of this on each page, and it's applied. So in here, because we defined various classes, so we defined blue, we defined red and green. So if I go back a page, class name, so the dot blue, the dot red, dot green, this is defining elements to go along with that. So they're predefined elements, so you can just call that class, and all the properties that you've defined in that class is applied by just using the class equals blue. So it can be a whole swag of different style parameters that are defined under that class system, and everything would be applied. External is most common used in large sites, and this allows us to have predefined styles, so we can create templates, and we link that template into our web page, and that applies all the definitions that are in that style template into the page. This allows us to have a common point. We can reuse it without having to put in the style commands in the headers on every single page. We can have it all defined in this external file, including how we're going to separate our page. So you can define header, your head space, footer space, columns, anything that affects the look and feel of your web page can be defined in the CSS file. Alright, so where are we going to link it? Well, same places where we defined the internal section. So in the header, but this time we're linking to a file. So here we're linking to a style sheet, and the style is going to be based as a file, which is going to be text CSS, and then we're referencing the actual file itself. Just remember that pathing needs to be defined. So if you're just calling the actual file name, the file itself needs to be in the same directory location as the web page that's calling it. So if you want to put all of your style sheets in one common area for a website, then you have to have that path defined as part of the href, so it pulls it in. Because otherwise it's assuming it's in the same location of the page. It comes down to how you want to set up your file systems for your web page. You then can call any of the classes that are defined in the style sheet, because everything's defined in that external sheet, and you just call it as needed. So what does that file look like? So it's pretty much what we defined in the internal header. You define up in the CSS file. So it's the same syntax, same separation. It's not complicated. We're just defining it. So you can see there that H2 is defined style, size, color. Now remember, a color can be defined either with the color code in hex or the word. So depending on where you want to define things is how you break it up. So again, under the body, we assign the background color to lavender. We're making everything center justified. Then we're saying the header is going to be italic, 30 point color. Paragraphs are going to be 20 point font size. And we've got classes blue, red, green. So what are some of the common property names and the syntax used? So you got the background color defines the color in the background that everything's going to appear on. Just be careful with your color choices because it's a make or break deal. Color defines the color for your text elements. Padding defines the space between the content and the border in pixels. Your margin creates a space around the entire element. Font family is where we define the font to be used. So italic, cursive, all that's in there. Font size, so in pixels defines our element, and then text alignment. So they're the common ones. There's many more available, and CSS can have a unit dedicated just for itself under web development units. So remember, this is just a intro or a review of the process, and I strongly recommend use the free resource of w3schools.com to go and review in more detail the elements that you need, and it provides you a good point of reference for when you're coding. Oh, I want to do this, jump in it. It's structured, well paragraphed, gives good examples. It's a good little free resource to make use of. Alright, so that is a very quick review of how to use styles within your web pages, and that is where we're going to end this little quick review. So thank you for joining. Go off and work your way through the various worksheets, and I'll catch you in the next class. Bye for now.